Alrighty, welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for clicking on today's video. Today we are going to be talking about Michelle Plati. We've actually talked about her a couple times, or I think at least one time in the past. She makes videos mainly on TikTok talking about being a fat woman and what it's like for her. And she has some interesting insights, things that I agree with, some things that I disagree with. But previously she was talking a lot about dating while being overweight. And in the videos we're going to be talking about today, there's a couple mixed bag of different things, as well as at the end we're going to talk about the fact that she is actually trying to lose weight currently, and how that kind of affects her content, and someone that's talking about this stuff pretty frequently on the internet. So this is the first video that we're going to be going over, just kind of replying to this comment that says, what about the anxiety of carrying fast food into the house the neighbors might judge, right? So it's talking about different things that you deal with as someone that is overweight that you might struggle with as someone that wouldn't be overweight would deal with.
As a fat, there's a lot of things that we're just not allowed to do. Let's talk about it. This does really stress me out. I hate coming home from any fast food place holding a bag. I get so nervous going on my elevator. I get really stressed out thinking of what other people are thinking of me. I also get really nervous ordering at fast food places because I'm scared that they're judging me, which is stupid. I said this before where
it's interesting because for me, when I was at my heaviest, right, I was 20, I don't remember really struggling with this that much. And I wonder if there is a difference between men and women in this thing. And obviously everyone is going to be different, right? But I wonder if for men it skews it's not, men aren't really struggling with this as much. Maybe that's just because it's more socially acceptable for a dude to be overweight or whatever and ordering fast food. I don't know. I'm not here trying to diagnose, but for me, it wasn't something I really thought too much about. I was really lucky that I didn't have a ton of people being look at this fat person eating all this food. But yeah, it was not something that I really struggled with. I would go to McDonald's with my friends all the time. We would get fast food all the time, taco shop, stuff like that all the time. And it was never something that I really was in my head too much about. But I don't know, maybe that's a bad thing.
I was yeah, sometimes it makes me want to order 2 drinks so that they don't think that all the food is for me, even though it in fact is. And somebody commented being don't you think that that's a problem? Thank you, Catherine Obvious. Yes. I don't know what to tell you. I'm not fat because I'm eating too little, obviously. Another thing,
I think that that's a good insight to have and kind of think about, right? Okay, if I am feeling I need to order 2 drinks, maybe I am ordering too much food. But at the end of the day, if you are ordering that much food, should you have to be worried about what people are thinking about you? And, who knows? Maybe the person you're eating with doesn't want to drink.
I feel I'm not allowed to do as a fat is wear comfy clothes. I feel when you're fat, you always have to be dressed to the nines, have perfect hair and makeup. Everything else about you has to be perfect because there is this one glaringly obvious unfortunate thing about your looks. That is how I feel, but is also I feel how it is perceived. You see a skinny person wearing an oversized sweatshirt or workout clothes and they're not going to actually work out, they're never seen as lazy or insecure. They're just seen as comfy vibes. It's cute, it's whatever. Fat people, sweatshirts and sweatpants, you're seen as you're trying to hide your body. And I just think that's such a weird thing. I've seen girls who are skinny go out in literal sports bras and biker shorts, quite literally wearing the most easy, simple, lazy outfit ever. People will be oh my god, so Lululemon chic, love that. But if a fat person did that, they would just be oh my god, she's so fucking lazy. That's insane.
No, I can definitely relate to this. I remember when I was bigger, I would always I remember people would, because I was obviously in high school when I was bigger, and there would be a lot of people that would be there in sweats and stuff like that. And I just in my head, I was I would never do that, right? I always we didn't have much money growing up, but I always tried to wear the nicest clothes that I had, because yeah, that was definitely something that I had in the back of my mind. And I would see people and I'd be kind of jealous. It's funny though, because even now, I like to wear oversized stuff, but I'm man, sometimes I just don't feel it works on me as much as it would someone that's skinnier, right? I feel people that are skinny, a lot of times it feels the trends are for people that are skinny, right? And when I say skinny, I mean like skinny, not just not fat, right? Like actually skinny, because I'm, I don't think I'm very skinny. I'm still a pretty bulky human. And so a lot of times I'll try things that I see on like Instagram or like, just something that I'm like, oh, I kind of like that style. And then I see it on me and I'm like, it doesn't work, right? Again, different, but something that I still struggle with to this day, to be honest.
Like, put yourself together. If you're fat, I feel like the most annoying thing by far is how skinny people react to calling yourself fat. Why am I not allowed to say that I'm fat? Say something like casually mentioned in a conversation. Yeah, like that's just because like I'm fat, or because or just something about my size. If you say, oh my God, no, you're not fat, blatant incorrect statement, and it makes no sense to me. Like if I was like, yeah, just like, being a brunette sucks, and people were like, wait, your hair is not even brown, like it's kind of blonde if you look at it. Shut the fuck up. That's so weird. It is so weird to say to an obviously fat person who's like referring themselves as fat, not being like, oh my God, I feel like I look so fat today. Like, I guess that could be interpreted in a different way. But if you're just like casually talking about the fact that you are fat, and a skinny person just feels the need to say to you, no, you're not fat, you're beautiful, what do you mean by I'm not fat? Like,
so I understand this this concept, and I don't disagree with what's being said here, but I think something that isn't being brought up is tone and how you are saying something, right? If it's perceived as like you are saying something, but it's obvious that you're saying it in a negative tone and you are being self-depreciating, most people that are your friends that are just trying to make you feel better, they're going to try and curb that feeling, and they're going to try and steer the conversation in a more positive way. Like, is saying no, you're not fat the most helpful thing? Like, if you obviously are, maybe not, but I think the intention isn't to like delete those feelings that you have or try and like actually say that that's not true, but they're just trying most likely to steer the conversation in a more positive way. I know there was times when I would intentionally, like fishing for compliments, right? I would intentionally say negative things about myself, hoping people would say something positive. And so I understand where she's coming from there, but I can also understand why someone would say that, maybe they're not really thinking that they're trying to say that you're not fat, but they're just trying to be like, I'm trying to be positive, right? When it seems that you are being negative about the situation.
It just feels patronizing. Like, it genuinely then feels like you're making fun of me, because clearly I'm fat. I feel like people who are skinny really do like to invalidate people who are fat's feelings about stuff. But I truly think explaining fat phobia to people might be worse than experiencing it, because I just feel like if I were to be like, yeah, I feel like this person did that because I'm fat, or they think like this because I'm larger, whatever. Skinny people would be like, no, I don't think it's because of that. I'm telling you and about an experience that I had. I'm saying like, oh, the reason that they said this or did this was because of my weight, then it's not really like something that I feel like is up for discussion necessarily, and not really something I feel like people should be like, well, no, maybe it's because of, no. Sometimes it is just as simple as that people really hate fat people. Like, I just, what can you do?
Yeah, I mean, again, that's obviously her own experience. I think, like, at the end of the day, if you are looking for something to be negative and you're trying to find a reason, it's very common, especially when you're bigger, to just use that as the catch-all for every negative thing that might happen to you. Again, I'm not saying that this isn't happening. I'm not saying that that's not the truth, but I remember for myself, I always felt that my weight was the thing that was holding me back from every single little thing in life that I didn't have, right? And if I just lost the weight, I will have those things. When in reality, I lost the weight and it wasn't the case. It helped in a lot of ways, but it wasn't this panacea that I thought was going to fix every problem that I have in my life, right? There are still a lot of things that I dealt with when I was bigger that I deal with now. But it was like this mindset of, this is obviously the most bad thing about me, right? In my head, this is the most bad thing about me. I fixed this one thing and everything is sunshine and rainbows and I'm living in, a fairy tale. And that just isn't the case. And so I do think that it's important to reflect on that and think, Am I thinking everything that is bad that is happening to me is because of my size? Or maybe there are some other maybe shortcomings that you have, and I'm not saying this for Michelle in particular, but just in general, are there these other shortcomings that I have that maybe I can work on while I may be trying to lose weight or whatever it is that you're trying to do that can improve my life, right? And that can improve how I interact with other people and how other people perceive me, right? That could be something that could be helpful, right?
Also, can we talk about how fat women are just not allowed to have standards? Because I swear, if I say like a man hit on me and I'll be like, yeah, he was gross, people are like, why don't you just give him a chance? You never know. And they'll just be the most hideous man ever. I mean, to be fair, we see beautiful women date really ugly men all the time, but I just feel like when you're fat, it's another level.
Yeah, I mean, I can definitely understand. I mean, I think it was a little mean at the end there, but I can definitely understand. And I remember those like when I would talk to friends sometimes, and they'd be like, "I don't know, man. I think she likes you," and I'd be like, "She's just not really my type." And then it was almost like, "Brother, come on. You got to get what you can get," right? That's how it felt like they kind of felt. But at the end of the day, you know, if you have standards, you have standards. It is what it is. But that was the first TikTok. There's another one right after this that I think is interesting, where it's actually the opposite of kind of like the things that I hate about being fat. This is actually the things that I enjoy about being fat, which I thought was an interesting kind of concept. So we'll get into this one as well.
Being fat, there's a lot of things I like to complain about, but low-key, as a fat, there are a lot of positives. Let's talk about them. I think the number one underrated positive about being fat and thing that I love about being fat is not being taken seriously. I mean, for sure, this is a double-edged sword because sometimes you want to be taken seriously. I'm just such like an unserious person that it's kind of nice to like not be taken so seriously.
Definitely a double-edged sword. I remember I felt the same way. I was definitely like the funny fat guy, and I used to make fun of myself a lot, and so it made it so other people didn't make fun of me. But I've said this many times, it also meant that no one like really took me seriously, and I really didn't like that because I am someone I get very passionate about certain things, and it sucks when you feel like no one really cares, right? So I don't know. I didn't really enjoy that part of it for sure.
Obviously it has its downfalls, but then everyone's just like joking with you and it's like kind of fun and fresh. I personally kind of like it. Another thing I love about being fat is it makes you funnier. I don't want to say inherently like you are a funnier person if you are fat, but if you're fat you are probably bullied or made fun of, and honestly that makes you funnier. Like I am I'm pro bullying to an extent, you know what I mean? Like everyone needs their balls busted like a little bit, and it's just gonna make you funnier. I'm so sorry, but it's true.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I guess I think that for a lot of people it ends up being a defense mechanism, right? Because literally just said this, right? To deflect the bullying happening to me or being made fun of me, I would make fun of myself and try and be funny so I could be like, you know, I would have some sort of social standing and I wasn't just the fat guy, right? I was at least funny, you know?
Thing that I literally love about being fat is that men do not give you attention like that, like most of the time. I will say, like, of course it still happens, there are still going to be men that are interested in you, but like as for being catcalled or just like constantly chatted up by like a gross man in a bar, that doesn't happen nearly as often as if you're skinny. And personally, like I think that's a good thing because it helps you like decenter male attention and like male validation in your life, a lesson that we all learn. But I do feel like fat girls learn it even quicker because it's like fighting for male attention, and it would be pointless. I found that like, oh, I never get male attention. It's just like theoretically, if I'm at a bar with like a bunch of my skinny friends, most likely the men are gonna hit on them over me.
Yeah, I mean, I can understand this. Obviously, as a coming from a different perspective as a dude, I really, it really bummed me out that I never really got much attention. I think like it was actually a really big reason why I wanted to lose weight, if I'm being completely honest, because I felt invisible, and that was frustrating to me. I think again, as a guy, we don't like I don't think I've ever been catcalled before. like in real life, like had someone make me feel uncomfortable, or anything like that. And so that's obviously something I did not have to deal with. And so that wasn't like a problem for me. So it was just like, damn, I feel like invisible, right? It honestly felt like I was invisible as far as being a partner to the opposite sex. I was definitely like, I had friends that were women and girls and stuff like that, but it always felt like, oh, you're like a brother, you know. We've all heard that before, and that was like the nail in the oh, brother, oh God. Great. I definitely hated that term quite a bit, but it was what it was. Yeah, I did not enjoy the fact that I didn't get much attention from the opposite sex. I get a lot of questions about that, and like, oh, do you like it a lot more now? And I will say, like, obviously there's definitely more attention, but it's one of those things that I think back on, and I remember thinking like, man, if I lose the weight, everything's going to be different. I'm going to be like a ladies' man. I'm going to be able to talk to all the women, and it's going to be so much easier for me. It don't work like that. It don't work like that. At least it didn't work like that for me, right? And so I am happy with the relationship that I am in. And as far as like wanting a bunch of attention, like obviously it's nice when people are nice to you, but sometimes it can get overwhelming, or like I can understand feeling like no one actually cares what I am saying. They just care about how I look. But again, like that's not really something I deal with too much. So I can't really speak too much on that, to be honest.
I don't know. Like I see it as a good thing. Another positive thing about being fat is I feel like a slight weight gain is undetected versus like if I were to gain 5 to 10 pounds, I probably wouldn't get honestly any comments on it,
That's
if
fair.
that. But if one of my skinny friends who does social media gains literally like a single pound, I swear people in their comments being like, okay, fat bitch. Like I'm so confused by it. But also it's just like kind of a plus because obviously our bodies fluctuate, especially if you have a period and freaking hormones. Like your weight fluctuates a lot. Sometimes it's kind of nice to not be like paid attention to. I feel like that would be so annoying, especially on
Like
social
not being
media.
perceived.
This next thing, I want to know if this is a universal experience. I swear that if you're fat, you get praised for the bare minimum so much more often. And like, let me explain what I mean. I feel like
This is such a good point that she brings up here. Like,
a fat person is a good singer. They will get way more praise than a skinny person who's a good singer. Not like in the media or like fame wise, but like if you're at karaoke, like I just feel like they're more taken aback by the fact that you're good at something and you kind of get more praise. I don't know if that makes sense, but I do really feel like that is totally a thing. You're skinny and you're like, oh yeah, I went to Pilates today or went for a walk. You get like, oh cool. If you're fat and you say that you worked out a bit, they literally act like you ended world hunger. They're like, you worked out. Like, that's so good for you. I'm so proud of you. Like, y'all are funny.
yeah, that was like, I remember when I was bigger, I played drums, right? And I had a band, and we played shows, and I'd get on stage and stuff. And I remember like we would finish our set. And so the band that I was in was here. Maybe I'll put a clip in this video.
Man, I think it's pretty nice of you to come and play my game. You might think you see me chilling when you see me day to day. That's because I keep the real me locked inside a cage.
It was metal slash. It was like new metal, right? So like metal with like hip hop in it. But we would go pretty hard during our live shows, and I was very large at the time. And I remember like I would just have people come up to me after the show and be like, dude, I thought you were going to be like chill on the drums. And they're like, you're freaking killing it, bro. You went like super hard. I remember one of the sound guys at one of the venues that we played at after I was done. He was like, dude, you're like the white Questlove. And I was like, I mean, he's a great drummer, so thank you. But it was honestly because I'm big, right? But yeah, like I definitely remember 100% stuff like that. With the drumming was the main thing, because I think so many people were so taken aback by the fact that I could drum and put out that much energy in you know, where they were not expecting it, right? This last TikTok that I want to go over is just her kind of doing a full day of eating. But again, it's interesting because she is actively trying to lose weight while still kind of talking about being bigger. And it makes me wonder, will the content change? Say if she does end up losing a good amount of weight, will it be things I hated when I was fat, or things you know what I mean? I don't know. I think it's interesting, but let's watch this.
Realistic would I eat in a day to lose weight in a calorie deficit? I'm trying to prioritize protein, but I'm also like not perfect. Okay, that's why we started the day with a Celsius. Is that ever a good decision? No.
Yeah, not at all.
Taking. For breakfast, I made this high protein French toast. Literally, I don't know how I kept redoing the macros on this because I was like, this sounds too good to be true. 505 calories, 65 grams of protein. It was fire.
Yeah, that's like the, you know, the Greg Doucette probably, like seems like something that would be in his cookbook. But yeah, this is definitely something that I did in the past. I'm too lazy, but it's definitely something that's pretty common. I've seen a lot of people do this.
Like, so damn good. Tastes like regular French toast. You wouldn't even know the difference.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
For lunch, I had a harvest bowl that I had made earlier for meal prepping. If you want a whole video of me meal prepping, let me know, because I've been in my meal prep era lately. This Real Good chicken is the best thing that's ever happened to me. Why is it so good? This bowl.
Yeah, I like that stuff. I did a sponsored, I think it was an Instagram post. I forget. Maybe it was on YouTube. I don't remember where I put it up, but it genuinely is good. If they had it in more places where it was a little bit easier for me to get, I'd probably use it all the time, but it's just a little out of the way. And I mean, price wise, it is a little pricey compared to maybe just like a regular chicken, right?
Super high proteins, got some chickpeas in there, sweet potato, goat cheese. It's basically the Sweet Green Harvest Bowl, if you know, you know. For dinner, I went to a friend's house. We did a little hot girl swim, actually, in the pool. And we had grilled chicken, some butternut squash mac and cheese, and coleslaw. And honestly, it was really good. I had like 2 plates, but like that's all the pasta that I had. So I'm honestly unsure on the calories of this. Who knows? I mean, actually, you guys will probably let me know in the comment.
No, I think it's good to, you know, like have obviously track, but then like be able to have those fluctuations where you're maybe not perfect, and like that's more real life, and not being so overly cautious and like overly focused on like getting every macro counted, because at the end of the day, as far as like being exactly perfect with your macros, I mean, it's kind of, I don't want to say it's impossible. It's just so difficult that it's not worth being like overly focused on it. Obviously, you know, get the main things, but I wouldn't worry too much about it. But I thought it was interesting, right? So she is obviously actively trying to lose weight while still talking about someone that is being bigger. And I don't know, I think her content is interesting. Like, do I agree with everything that she's saying? No, not necessarily, but I think she is sharing her perspective and her reality of the things that she dealt with. And I think that that's interesting, right? And I think that, you know, she's being honest at least, and I appreciate that. But I would love to know what y'all think down in the comments section down below. If you made it to the end of the video, drop a thumbs up. It really does help the channel out a lot. Or subscribe if you haven't subscribed already. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Peace.